first official Two Drunk Guys on a Football podcast. I'm Skinny Domestic.
And I'm Marcus the Hammer Mary.
Today we're going to start off with an official introduction of who we are. And with the draft just ending on Sunday, we're going to do a episode of breaking down that draft, favorite things about what our teams did, players, picks, and things that we disliked or kind of questions on what was going on there. So with that, we see you're a Vikings fan.
I am a huge Vikings fan. Been a Vikings fan since I was probably 7th, 8th grade, and been avid, seen a lot of heartbreaking things being a Vikings fan, but maybe one day we'll win a Super Bowl, maybe. And you?
Big Eagles fan. Started when Vic came over. Watched the McNabb TO years, as my brother was a fan of them. Watched them, but since Vic was my favorite player, as soon as he came over, it was an instant. I was attached. We finally do have a Super Bowl as of 2017, so that's nice. Definitely beating the Vikings a couple times in those playoff runs. Almost had a Super Bowl this year. We're very close, but didn't get the job done. So this draft definitely was used to help get that job done this year, hopefully.
Yep. Yeah, I've been a big Vikings fan for a long time. I love me some AP. That's kind of my favorite player of all time. And then, got my Adam Thielen jersey, even though he's gone. So I'm a little sad about that. But Vikings made up for it a little bit with the draft. So
definitely did. It was before Landon Dickerson was there, but now it's my Landon Dickerson jersey, I say. With that, what's your sports background? What are you into? What did you get into growing up?
So I started playing football in middle school. Started out playing line, and then I eventually became a wide receiver in 8th grade and loved that. In high school, I played tight end for a while, and I ended up playing receiver. We didn't do a whole lot of passing in high school, so it kind of went and played a little bit of college football, got hurt, and just was done. Now I just play a ton of flag football. As you can see, our second place trophy up there a couple years ago, I think 2019.
I wasn't a part of that team.
No, he wasn't.
That was pre-me. Clearly, I think we've gotten worse ever since I added.
Sure.
With me, same way I played football all the way until my freshman year in high school. Focused on other sports because, why not? Looking back, I always regret not finishing out playing football. I should have, but that's here nor there. Lived my life a different way. I've coached. I do have my coaching authorization. I've coached youth sports for a total of 5 years for flag football and basketball. Currently, as of July, we'll graduate with my master's in sports admin. My last 2 classes start up here in the next 2 weeks, so I'm excited to get that over with, and then hopefully get myself a big boy sports job somewhere and go from there. But yeah, sports have pretty much just been my life. I went through a crisis in college, was like, what do I want to do with my life? And ended up taking a year off and was like, you know what, I'm going to get in the sports field. I'll make sure that's going to happen. So that's the route I went. And I think that's probably the best decision one of the best decisions of my life. Clearly the best decision is marrying my wife. But, that's here nor there. With that, how did you feel about the Vikings draft?
Okay, this was a hard one. I thought for sure we were going to get Will Levis at the 23rd pick. I was worried about it. I'm not a big Will Levis guy. I feel like he needs a lot of time to develop and stuff like that, and he kind of has a lot of attitude issues. I mean, the guy eats bananas with a peel and drinks coffee with mayo. It was weird. It turned me off on him. I really wanted us to get Hendon Hooker. That was kind of like who I wanted the Vikings to draft, especially back there. But we did get Jordan Addison, which I think will pair very nice with.
That is a solid pickup, especially when you need that wide receiver too now with Thielen gone. And the best part about the draft, what I loved in the early rounds was until Will Levis was drafted, you were like messaging me,
Oh,
and we're
yeah.
just so afraid that we're about to take him. We're
I
about
thought
to take
for sure we were. And you know what? If they would have taken him, maybe I could have eventually been like, okay, I can get on board with this. I just thought that he was. I mean, even if you look at his college career, he didn't do a whole lot. Like, I think his senior year, he threw 19 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. And I don't get why these guys are going first round picks.
Well, and he was also like he had one win or something against like top teams. It
Yeah.
was just 8 times he played top teams. He only won once. So
Mhm.
I mean, Kentucky's football program did turn around with him at quarterback, but as a overall without those pieces around him, average quarterback. Like
Yeah.
not gonna be a day one starter, which a lot of people had him going in the top 5. So
they thought he was the second best quarterback in the
when
draft.
he landed, I remember watching. I watched like the whole draft. I had it on.
Mhm.
I didn't matter what I was doing. I had round 1 to 7 on, and I remember him in the green room. They just constantly showing him. He was pissed, and then when he didn't show up for the second day, like you knew.
Well, it wasn't even like, okay, like once Rodgers slid, Rodgers was pissed. I feel like Will Levis was kind of, maybe it's my biased opinion, he was kind of throwing a fit a little bit. You could tell he's like passive aggressive with
Yeah.
it.
But all right, who else? Who else did you like coming out of that draft?
For the Vikings,
Yeah.
I like the Malik Blackman pick. He's kind of an older corner, but he's a physical guy. I think that
Well, with that defensive play last year.
yeah,
And
we
I
needed
think at
all
this
the
point,
help.
yeah, you can
we
take
needed all the
anything.
help. I did like Jordan Addison too. I think that he'll pair very nicely with JJ. He's a good route runner, has good hands. He's not very big. He's kind of small for a wide receiver. I think he's like 175 pounds, but I feel like he'll pair very nicely in that slot and have JJ on the outside or JJ moving around. And for once, I feel like teams aren't going to just be able to sit there and double, triple JJ all the time. So I feel like Justin Jefferson will be able to get open, and it'll just make that Vikings offense crazy. Because then you also have I can't think of the tight end right now. Vikings tight end. Now you can't think either. The guy from Iowa, he's got his blonde hair.
Oh, Hawkinson.
Hawkinson,
Yeah,
T.J. Hawkinson. I don't know why I couldn't remember that. But you got T.J. Hawkinson, and then whatever they do with the running backs, whether they keep Dalvin or do Alexander Madison, and then also they have KJ Osborne. So that team's going to be good, and the offensive line has been playing better last couple years. So I think the offense will be crazy. Defense, I don't know. They didn't fill as many holes as I wanted them to.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of teams did that this year.
Yeah.
I guess with the Eagles,
Yeah.
I think their draft picks speak for themselves.
It was a good draft for the Eagles.
Howie Roseman 2 or 3 years ago was on his way out of being the GM of the Eagles. Had 2 bad drafts. Drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside over DK Metcalf. Drafted Jalen Reagor over Justin Jefferson.
Who is a Minnesota Viking.
And both of them didn't work out.
Yeah.
Fans were getting very upset. And the last couple of drafts, he's just been killing it. Been getting...
Yeah.
I mean, you got Jalen Hurts in the second round, which I wasn't a big fan of right away. But here I am now. I'm total support of it. But just
I love me some Jalen.
what he is doing on the defensive side, we've drafted 5 Georgia defensive players, and
He loves Georgia.
yes, the Philadelphia Bulldogs is what I've and many people have been saying.
Yeah.
Getting Jalen Carter at 9 when I expected him to go way sooner, and just watching him slide, I kept sitting there getting antsy because I was like, we're gonna take him.
That's the most talented player in that draft.
Oh,
by
easily.
far.
And you get him paired up with Jordan Davis, who he played with, and then you have Nolan Smith and Dean, who they all played with. Like, these are guys coming from arguably one of the greatest college defenses ever.
Yeah.
You get them all paired up together with all the veteran experience we have around them. That defense is I believe, gonna be way better this year than it was last year. We have older offensive line. Went and got Tyler Steen out of Alabama. I did like that pick. He's gonna be able to learn from arguably some of the greatest offensive linemen to play the game.
That's true.
Especially at the tackle position with
Yeah.
Lane Johnson. Sidney Brown. When we picked him, I was like, who is that? I was like, I couldn't think of who it was in my head. I had watched one Illinois game all season, and I only remember him because once they started showing his highlights, I was like, oh, that's who that is. He has he had like little poof of his hair coming out of his helmet, and I was like, dude, that's a solid pickup. He played hard that game, like he was laying down the law, and especially with right now we have Blankenship. He is a 2-year safety, so we lost Gardner Johnson unfortunately. So we need that safety position. Blankenship could start, he comes in and fills that role, but it'll be a toss-up between those two down the long road. Then we signed 2 other safeties. I can't think of their names off the top of my head. And then the other one was the Keely Ringo from Georgia, the cornerback. That was questionable because he doesn't have the size that everybody wants and wasn't the most impressive cornerback compared to like some of these other guys. But I think with Darius Slay and Bradbury as guys to teach him and lead on, we're going to be set for a while.
The defense looks good. And then you guys also ended up getting DeAndre Swift.
Yeah, Howie traded him. And what's funny about that, too, is I had the receipts at like 7 in the morning. I saw that DeAndre Swift wanted to be traded or the Lions were looking to trade. And I jokingly in a group chat with a bunch of my buddies was like, wouldn't it be hilarious if the Eagles traded for him because he's a Georgia Bulldog? And 5 hours later, he's an Eagle. So I like to think I was pretty good about that one.
Oh,
Feel good about that.
It makes sense. It kind of fills the Miles Sanders role too. Needs
a
better pass catcher,
I think
probably,
as long as he stays healthy, he'll have his best season yet, and we have the depth at running back to where he's not going to be forced to play every snap or take 75% of the offensive snaps and wear himself down.
Yeah, that's true.
With that, let's move on to what are some of your favorite picks that you like coming out of the draft?
Well, number one, I thought Jalen Carter was probably the best pick of the draft. I mean, he did have some off-the-field issues and stuff like that, but the fact that he slid to number 9 and the fact that the Eagles could get him was just ridiculous.
And I think with that, too, is the best part about that is even with his off-field issues, he's got veteran presence in that locker room that's going to be able to help just keep him under their wings and not potentially allow some of those off-field things to happen and move him into the right direction.
Oh, yeah, because right now he'll probably back up for a while, but the rotation on that Eagles defense is going to be...
Oh, he'll play. He will play.
He will play.
I mean, Fletcher Cox is older. You have Jordan Davis, who was hurt last year, and he'll get in there. So, that rotation is going to be crazy.
Because the Eagles play a 4-3, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, could you imagine Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter in the middle? That's going to be scary.
Like Brandon Graham.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to run on that team. You're not going to be able to do anything. You have 2 freak of nature players.
And you have to think about it. Before Jordan Davis got hurt, the Eagles had one of the best run defenses because you have to double team Jordan Davis no matter what. Like, you have to put 2 bodies on him. So then that's going to... Our defense started to collapse after he got hurt.
Yes.
And rushing very hard. So that's one reason why we go after him is... One, he's also cheaper, too, than guy that went to the 49ers. Can't think of his name now. But, he wanted a crap ton of money, and the Eagles were like, yeah, we're not going to pay you. We'll go get somebody for a lot cheaper for now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree. He was also one of my favorite picks because, like I said, watching him just slide to number 9, teams made mistakes passing up on him, and they're going to eat for it.
Yeah, I agree. My number 2 was Christian Gonzalez to New England. I was shocked at this one. I genuinely thought Washington was going to take him.
I thought he was going to go in the top 10. I had him going in the top 10.
Like, I was shocked by this one because he's just such a crazy athlete. I know that he wasn't, before 2022 season, he didn't have the best ball skills and stuff like that, but then this year he balled out and had quite a few picks. And
considering the teams that drafted before the Patriots, you had the Raiders, the Lions, even the Seahawks, which they went with the other cornerback, Witherspoon.
Yeah, Witherspoon, which has a good pick.
Falcons, these were all teams that could have used a defensive back, And
especially because DBs are probably one of the most important positions right now, especially how pass heavy the NFL is. So you get a solid cornerstone corner on your team, like they can shut down games.
I think the Lions passed him because, after the whole Jeff Okudah thing, they're like, we're not doing that again.
Yeah, that's true. But I really liked him. He has potential. I think honestly though, New England was the best spot for him because I feel like he had some maybe I've heard reports about lower motor and stuff like that, and he kind of relies on his talent. If there's a team that can whip a player into shape, that is.
Well, they have a bunch of depth on that defense anyway, so he doesn't have to be a day one starter. He's going to be able to learn from everybody. While if he would have went to, the Raiders or Falcons, maybe the Falcons, but he would have to be a day one starter.
Didn't Okudah go to?
Yeah, I guess
they have
maybe
a little more depth.
Yeah, they have some more depth with it because after that it's AJ Terrell, which he's their number one, but they could have done a little bit more with the depth. But really, I think the Raiders that really had a bad defense should have went after him.
It's your second now.
Yeah, so my second, Gonzalez again.
Oh,
yeah, we're agreeing on these ones. Just top 10 player, top 10 talent, goes 18 overall. That just shouldn't happen. No, that's why the draft, you get all these mock drafts. Like I did my mock draft, and I had the first 2 picks right. The last 8 were completely incorrect. So, the big one is that his trades and everything, but somebody that should have been top 10, and I'm an Oregon fan. I watched him play all year. He was very, very spectacular, I think, with that defense. So, especially in the Pac-12, high, fast-paced. You got to be ready. You got to go and guard wide receivers every down, and it's not like it's you have time to kind of breathe. It's let's move. So I think that'll translate good for him in the NFL too.
Yeah, especially with a division where it has a lot of good receivers there. He's got to face Diggs. He's got to face Tyreek Hill and Waddle, and he's got Corey Davis.
Yeah, and then you have the quarterbacks that are throwing it. You have Josh Allen in it.
Rodgers
throwing the ball, so that even if you could be covering them 100%, that they're gonna trust their guy to go get that ball.
Even Tua after last year, if Tua plays like he did healthy, Tua might be a top 10 quarterback. So he has his work cut out for him, but it'll be interesting. It'll be exciting to see him. My third favorite pick, I kind of put 2 together. I think the C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson Jr. pick by the Texans back-to-back, I think was really, really solid. I know that there's a lot of people scared about C.J. Stroud because the intelligence, they talked about his report of he scored a 13th percentile and everyone else was in the 90th percentile.
I don't think that those things really matter that much.
No,
as what people try to take it as, it's not that big of a deal.
No.
If you're able to go out there and play football and do what you need to do, it doesn't matter how intelligent you are.
It's because it's really think about someone like Christian Ponder, who was extremely intelligent, but he couldn't process the field. It's about processing time and intelligence. Yeah. So if he can process the field and think quick and act quick, he'll be fine. I liked him. He's to me, he was the prototypical quarterback. He's big, he's strong, he's fast. He has beautiful ball placement, athletic enough. Good accuracy. He played really well at Ohio State.
And very, very well. And if you're a quarterback at those schools, typically you're going to be a higher caliber with that. Not all Ohio State quarterbacks have clearly paid out.
Yeah.
With that long list. Yeah. But Alabama running backs didn't pan out for the longest time, and all of a sudden they're coming.
Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs.
They're coming in the league now. So I did like that pick. My third favorite was the Osiris Torrance offensive line to the Bills from Florida. The dude, he's gonna protect Josh Allen. He's a big dude. He's, I think it was 330 pounds. He started off at Louisiana, came over to Florida, and just dominated. That's one reason why Richardson had so much success was he was their man. And with a scrambling quarterback, your franchise quarterback, for a team that pretty much, really had, I mean, they keep making the playoffs. They're good. They're good all around. You had a, younger lineman to just come in, and I think he's going to be able to have instant success for him right away. It's not again, it's a lineman. It's not a big skill player or anything, but he's going to get down to the trenches and do what he wants to do.
They're important to ask Tom Brady last year. So my fourth would be Hendon Hooker to the Lions. They got him 68 overall. To me, he was probably the third best quarterback in the draft, in my opinion. I liked him over Will Levis. I liked him over Anthony Richardson. To me, he kind of reminded me a little bit of, old Teddy Two Gloves back in the day. I love Teddy, but I think that was a solid move for the Lions.
He would have been a first rounder if he didn't tear his ACL.
Yeah, he would have.
That was his biggest thing, is ACL.
Yeah, and you can't. It's hard, but nowadays everyone comes back from those ACLs and plays fine. Like, it's kind of like a, I remember Adrian Peterson was kind of the person to kick that off, because after he tore his ACL and MCL in 2011, and then he came back for the 2012 season, like, that was unheard of. And now, like, everyone tears their ACL and are back in a year, and it's kind of just wild.
Did it twice.
Yeah.
And played 20 NFL seasons.
But I liked him. I thought it was a good pick. He can play. Jared Goff still has 2 years left on his contract, so he can sit behind him and learn. And I think in college he had like a 58-5 touchdown to interception ratio, which is stupid good.
Well, and people don't realize, I think, how good he actually was with Tennessee this last year. Like, he arguably could have been the Heisman if he doesn't get injured. Tennessee could have won the championship again. The Bulldogs for one thing, but that Tennessee offense was just moving. Mm-hmm. He had Hyatt, who was just having big games at the receiver position. Like, they were just an electrifying college offense, and I loved watching him. Yeah. Once they got injured, I stopped watching Tennessee games. I was just like, it's not the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got the 2 years to learn under Jared Goff. Mm-hmm. Third round pick, low expectation. He could come in and ball out now.
Think about it. Like, if he doesn't pan out, it's water under the bridge. There's no pressure on it.
Exactly. Compared to a first round, he would have had all the pressure. My fourth favorite pick is another offensive tackle. It was Voorhees for the Ravens, the dude that tore his ACL in the combine. I love this pick just because that's a steal. He was a third round talent, and because of his ACL injury, and he's not going to play during the season, he fell to 7. So the Ravens even traded into the 7th round to get him. Yeah. So they wanted him. Yeah. And quarterback's been injured. You signed him to a 5-year deal. And what do you need? You need an offensive line to protect him. Mm-hmm. He was a stud with USC. And giving him that year to just rehab and come in, he'll be a day one starter. Again, ACL injury, like you said, people are coming back from him a lot easier, a lot better. And it just, the fact that he was like, I tore my ACL, came in and still participated in certain things. Like, he did the bench press, 39 reps, led the combine in bench.
That's a lot.
He could have tore his ACL and been like, all right, I'm done. Hopefully I get drafted, we'll see. But he still came back and at least tried to participate. So that just kind of shows the guts that he's got going. He's going to do whatever he can to play, do whatever he can to help the team. And getting third round talent in the 7th round, it's going to be a solid pick for them when that comes all around.
Yeah, no, I agree. My 5th was any team that didn't draft Will Levis in the first round. I just, like I said earlier in the podcast, I didn't like the guy. Not to say that he can't develop. He kind of reminds me a lot of Josh Allen once he came out of Wyoming, where he's very raw. He has talent. I think Josh Allen is probably a better person than Will Levis has kind of showed to be, but very cocky guy. But I didn't think that it was the right move for any teams. Kind of let that guy develop. He's a 2nd round talent or 3rd round talent to me for sure. And he wasn't that productive in college. He really wasn't. So
he was one of those things where people saw a couple highlights from the combine, kind of like Anthony Richardson, I think too, where
people fall in love with the arm,
and then like sports betting side of it, people were betting on it heavy. So like you see that, oh, he's plus 400 now to go this spot in the draft, and then that gets people talking like, oh, is he really gonna be considered this high now? And then so like sports betting kind of has implications to those things, but yeah, he needs to sit behind somebody and just
he does.
He's not gonna be like if he was drafted 2 overall to the Texans and could come in, and I would take Mills over him right away anyway.
I don't worry too. I think he went to the best spot he could with the Titans because, then he has a competition. He can learn behind Ryan Tannehill if that's who they want to go, and then he can compete with Malik Willis. So really the Titans are pretty smart to take that because it's not a second round pick, it's not that much draft capital for him. And
well, I did a mock draft right before the draft started. I originally had him going to the Colts. And then I had the Titans trading up for Anthony Richardson, but then I swapped it. I was like, ooh, I'll have the Titans trade up to the 3rd pick and take Will Levis. But they didn't need to do that. They got him later. So that worked out for them. I would agree. I don't have a 5th option, so I'm just going to call back on yours. Yeah, any team that did not take Will Levis in the 1st round.
There you go.
Solid decision. Shout out to the Vikings for not doing that and upsetting him. So let's move on to picks that we didn't like. First one is Robinson at 8 to the Falcons. 0 cents. I know he's electrifying running back. I know that he's going to be a great NFL talent. Did great things for Texas. I'm an Iowa State fan. Hated playing him. The Falcons have other issues that they needed to deal with first.
Hold on that team.
Their defense was terrible. You have some big-time guys on the offense. You have Kyle Pitts. You have Drake London. Tyler Algier just ran for over 1,000 yards as a rookie.
And he was hot at the end of the season, too.
To do that, Tyler Algier's not happy. Of course, he's gonna play for his team, do what he can, but he's not happy. You could have went and got. I guess I'll break down farther that later, but just too high. Mel Kiper has always been like, don't draft a running back in the 1st round, and you said what, he's the 4th highest paid running back now because of that position.
Running back in
the
NFL.
I get he's electrifying, but you could be as electrifying as you want. You could have the highest offensive powers you want. Take the Chargers for example, but if your defense comes up short, it's going to be shootouts, and usually you don't come out ahead on those shootouts.
Honestly, I have the same thing. Bijan Robinson. Generational talent, probably the best prospect since Saquon Barkley. If we were talking about a more complete team taking him, say that the Eagles took him, different outlook at it.
I wanted him at 10 for the Eagles.
Yeah, that's why you're mad. But honestly, totally different outlook on it because you can't draft a running back in the 1st round. You can get him 2nd round or 3rd round, but like if it's generational talent, I'm all for it. Just the Falcons, I understand why they made that pick because it frustrated me last year having, shares of, I can't even think of the tight end's name. I can't remember any tight ends. Pitts and Drake London. I had shares of both those in fantasy, and honestly, it upset me watching that team because they just ran the ball with Tyler Algier for no reason. And they just kept doing that. So I understand that team wants to run the ball and keep in most games and not get into shootouts, but it just, to me, it wasn't the pick. They could have done a lot more with their draft capital there, or even traded back and probably got him too, maybe.
My next guy is another running back with Gibbs to the Lions.
That's what I did too.
First off, the Lions traded back. If the Lions wanted a running back, if I'm going to take Gibbs or Robinson, I'm taking Robinson.
Yeah, I agree.
So the fact that they traded back is why. If you wanted a running back, you were better off taking Robinson. Mm-hmm. At the time, you have David Montgomery, whatever. You have Swift. You guys are trying to trade him. But it just doesn't make any sense. If you trade back to go get between the pick number 8 and pick number 12, at the time they could have got him at 6. So 6 picks later, that talent-wise, between the two, is way greater than 6 picks. So I think Gibbs was just a bad one for the Lions. The Lions had some questionable picks in their first 2 rounds. I'll dig into that a little later too.
Yeah.
But again, running backs in the first round, is he worth a first round talent money?
No.
He probably would have fell to the second round. I don't see any of these other teams that drafted after the Lions even potentially taking a running back really. And I just think it was again a big mistake to go that route. And if you were to go that route, you should have stayed at 6, took Robinson.
Yeah, I agree. That's who I had for my second too, and he just didn't. He didn't even rush for 1,000 yards and behind Alabama's line and everything. I know that they kind of had a bad line this year and stuff like that, but he's a good player. He's going to be fun for fantasy, I think, but it wasn't the pick and what they could have done. They should have just drafted Bijan at that pick. Maybe they thought he was going to fall back or whatever, but it wasn't a good route to go. I like the talent of the player. I understand moving on from Swift. I think that they could have done that with their second first round pick, though.
See, this is where I feel like I'm just like, dang, put me in to one of these draft rooms, and I would do great. Yeah, I just don't know what they were thinking there. My third pick is Richardson. I know everybody was high on him to go so high. Shout out to Melton. I know you're a Colts fan. You love the pick.
Sorry, Milton.
He is a worse Josh Allen. Same, big guy, mobile. The worst thing about him is his completion percentage, which was like 54%.
Yeah.
He wants to run. He doesn't want to throw the ball. Something you're going to have to work on. He's going to be competing with Gardner Minshew, which I think at this point Gardner Minshew is going to be the starter. I don't think that they're even when you think of a number 4 overall pick.
Yeah.
You don't think of backup. You think of this is who I'm taking to start at this position from day one. Overvalued.
The Niners did it with Trey Lance, so look how that panned out.
Yeah, and I know that I'm a big advocate on the quarterbacks getting 1 to 2 years chance, all that, but at 4, you're pushing it there. He had a great combine, was the best in many categories of the quarterbacks. Unless he can do what Josh Allen did and improve pretty much every year, and then I think Josh Allen's like 4th and 5th year, he's the same in completion percentage. Unless you increase that, I don't see that working. He does benefit with having, Jonathan Taylor. That offensive line is good. They haven't been playing great though. And then they drafted Downs, wide receiver. You have Michael Pittman. I mean, you don't have any spectacular standout guys. More like wide receiver 2s and 3s. So I think that's where the Colts fans are used to it with their quarterbacks the last couple of years. And I think they just need to be prepared that if he does come in, do not expect top 4 productivity right away.
Well, I think that they started out with Rivers, and then they went to Wentz, and then
Wentz was the best quarterback for them in the last couple of years, and the fact that they didn't take him over Matt Ryan, frustrating. But
he lost to the Jags to keep him out of the playoffs.
27-7.
Lost to the Jags.
The whole team played like crap that game. I don't care what anybody else says. He was a better option than Matt Ryan because he would have had 2 years under that same system. It would have been fine.
Yeah. I suppose. Mine was Emmanuel Forbes to the Commanders. I like the talent of Emmanuel Forbes. He's a really good player. He's fast. He's good at catching the ball. He's just a good corner. He's pretty physical, too, for how light he is. The downside is you could have got Christian Gonzalez, and the dude weighs 166 pounds.
I agree with that one. I could have had Christian Gonzalez, and then literally the next pick he goes. I don't know what you're thinking when you have big body. What he's gonna? Oh, he's gonna go and guard Devontae Smith.
Mm-hmm.
But there's AJ Brown, big old AJ Brown.
Yeah.
There's CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee's smaller though too. So I guess maybe that's what he's looking at.
Yeah, I guess they're like,
I'll be the
okay,
Devontae Smith
yeah.
guy and CeeDee Lamb.
I guess everybody but AJ Brown in this division is pretty small.
And he's like New York, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Who's on New York anyway? But yeah, I just didn't love the pick. If he could put on some weight, I think I'd be more excited about him. But he's the average corner in the NFL is like 200 pounds. He's 166 pounds. He's not gonna put on 40 pounds, 30 pounds to get to where he needs to be.
Well, in a year,
yeah,
it's gonna take it's gonna take a couple of years to put on.
Oh,
that
yeah.
weight. Like Giannis came in skinny guy from the NBA, and it took him 2-3 years to put on, that 30 to 40 pounds he's at.
I'm a huge Bucks guy.
Yeah, you say so. So I didn't include any more dislike, not questionable picks. So we'll just finish up with yours.
So I went with Anthony Richardson as my fourth. He's got a big arm. He's a freak athlete. Has a lot of potential. But the Colts drafted him so early. The guy only threw 24 touchdown passes to 15 picks last year, and he had 12 rushing touchdowns to add to that.
And I got benched a couple times.
Yeah, to me, that is the epitome of a second-round pick, third-round pick. You don't take the fourth overall pick and draft that guy. You just don't. I think the Colts, sorry, Milton, but I just think the Colts messed up with that pick. I think they could have done a lot more stuff. I mean, in Gardner Minshew, he's probably not the future, but he's no slouch. I mean, the dude can play. I mean, he can win games. He's not going to lose you games. I would have just maybe traded back, and I would have felt better if the Colts took Will Levis. I really would have. Now, Anthony Richardson may be the next tier talent, and maybe he's the next coming of Lamar Jackson or Cam Newton, but I think Cam Newton was a better passer, and I don't think Cam Newton was that good of a passer, so...
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this works out. Like I said, they don't have the wide receiver core that you'd want to really have around it. No. A guy that struggles with throwing the ball.
Yeah.
They're gonna run their offense a lot like the Eagles. They're gonna RPO heavy. I mean, again, it benefits with Jonathan Taylor in that backfield because you're gonna have to honor the run. And if
he'll get a lot of rushing yards, but I feel like Richardson will steal a lot of touchdowns if he plays. So even in fantasy, it kind of knocks Taylor down a little bit too.
Yeah.
So.
And then what was your last one?
The Packers not getting any help for Jordan Love in the first round. I get it. Lucas Van Ness is a very good defensive player. He could be a cornerstone for that team, but you gotta get the guy targets. I know they took a couple wide receivers and a tight end. I think they took a tight end in a second and a couple wide receivers later on in the draft, but. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers was struggling with that team last year. They didn't have I think Alan Lazard led their team with like 700 receiving yards. Next was like Christian Watson, and Romeo Doubs only had like 400 yards. Like that team has struggled with talent on the offense outside of the running backs, and I think I don't know what the Packers do. I genuinely think I could draft better than the Packers and get them weapons.
Well, yeah, you look here, picks 20, 21, 22, 23, all top 4 wide receivers pretty much. Smith, Njigba, Johnston, Flowers, Addison. Like, you could have taken any one of those guys, and I would have been like, probably a better pick for your team.
And they're going to be 10 times better than... And I like Christian Watson. He's a really fast player.
Well, and you just lost Lazard, too. Yeah. So you have 2 younger guys... Jordan Love, he's taken over. They just signed him to an extension, actually.
Pretty cheap, too, for starting NFL.
Well, and he hasn't, and the other one, too, is, he really hasn't played. So, I think what they really need is they have the speed. They should have went and got Johnson from TCU.
Yeah.
Big body guy. And I think that would have just fit perfectly for them. With having the speed of... Watson and...
he went to Carolina, didn't he?
He went to the Chargers.
Oh, that's the guy that went to the Chargers?
Yeah. Okay. And then the Vikings took Addison, which I think Addison could have gone up there too, but...
Yeah.
We'll see. I don't know what the Packers are doing. It's just the last couple of years have just been so... What's going on? You have the Rodgers issues every year. Might retire, might not. You and I were right, as soon as the draft was about to happen, they got that trade through.
Yeah.
And then Lamar was quickly soon after. So
I can't wait till Rodgers plays for Minnesota next year.
Oh yeah, 1 year.
Just like Favre, baby. Just like Favre.
Has to follow the footsteps of Favre. All right, so the next one here is just overall teams that you feel like did not win the draft, just had like a poor draft overall.
My first one would be the Falcons. Obviously, they didn't do too well with Bijan Robinson, in my opinion. I think they could have done better. I just don't think that they filled a lot of the holes that they needed to. Let me look what they drafted real quick. If I can ever get there.
While you're doing that, I agree. The Falcons are on my list too. Overdrafted Robinson. Their team needs were defense, and they didn't really draft defense until the third round.
Mm-hmm.
Which at that point, you're getting guys that maybe could work out, but those... I mean, everybody's a maybe could work out, but the first 2 rounds, usually you're getting somebody that could come in and potentially be a day one starter and give you successful productivity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they didn't do anything. They did get an offensive lineman, which they needed. They could have done a lot of different positions. I mean, even their wide receiver core, they literally have Drake London, and then that's it. And
again, they passed on Carter when defensively they needed a pass rush guy, whatever they could do.
Which would have been really good. They still have Grady Jarrett, don't they?
I think so.
Yeah, that would have been a crazy defensive line then too if they could have done that.
And things with this too is, I'm going to bring it up with the Lions case too. They're the top 5 free agent running backs right now are Jerick McKinnon, Kareem Hunt, Zeke, Fournette, and Drake.
I think actually Jerick McKinnon re-signed with
okay.
With the
so Hunt, Elliott, Fournette, and Drake.
Mm-hmm.
You could have went and got Jalen Carter and potentially got a running back later in the draft,
or traded for Dalvin,
or traded, done whatever, but instead you overdrafted. You needed defense. You're gonna suck again. This year is gonna be a rough defensive year for the Falcons.
Yep.
And that could have made a big impact with having Carter on your team for 5 years, potentially.
And I get what they're trying to do there. I know that team wants to run the ball out. They want to play close games. They don't want their defense to be on the field too much. They kind of want to protect that defense and play, the Falcons don't mind playing a 14-12 game or 14-10 game. Like they,
you know who fits that run-heavy offense great? Zeke, if he's not your starter.
So Zeke's last 50 carries for the Cowboys, under 100 yards.
But he was also the starter. You don't put him as your starter, I think they would be fine.
I don't think Zeke still has it. I really don't.
I think he does. Just not as a starter. Let him be the backup man. Your team's tired. You've been dealing with somebody else all game. He's a big boy coming in. I mean, I think he's fine. So, I like you. I had the Falcons. The next team was the Lions. Again, heavily because of their first round.
Yeah.
But you overdrafted Gibbs. You could have had Robinson if you would have just stayed at 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then defensively, your defense is kind of the reason why they lost some games. Your offense has been definitely improved. You could have had Tyree Wilson on the edge, on the opposite side of Hutchinson. You could have had Carter in the middle.
Which would have been scary.
And you just traded away Jeff Okudah, added some guys. You could have gotten Christian Gonzalez. These are 3 guys that probably fit what you truly need more than a running back. You just re-signed David Montgomery. And again, Hunt, Zeke, Fournette, Kenyon Drake, all guys that you could have reasonably went and signed because they have the cap space to do it.
Yeah.
So I just feel like doing that, and then to add on top of that, Jack Campbell probably would have been available second round. He wasn't an overvalued target for a lot of teams. Being from Iowa, he's not the fastest, he's not the greatest. And then taking Laporta over Mayer, just no sense at all. Mayer was the best tight end in the draft and went third.
You know
Third
what,
tight
though?
end.
That Lions team with Dan Campbell literally goes for culture. Like, it doesn't matter how talented you are. Like, they loved Jamal Williams wearing his, like, I don't know, Pokemon Go, like,
Hey,
do-rag
he's
and
the
stuff like
anime
that.
man, right?
He loved that, though. They love that. That team's all about culture. So I didn't like the running back in the first round. I was like, but I understand why they did it. They're looking for culture. They're looking for people that'll fit in that scheme. Because if you like where you play, maybe you'll give that much more effort to that.
My biggest thing is when it comes to running, Mayer is a better receiver than Laporta,
Yeah,
and he's a better blocker than Laporta.
that's
Like
true.
Laporta was good in a run-heavy offense with Iowa, clearly, but Michael Mayer was above and beyond in tight end, and
Yeah,
I just think they messed up with letting him slip and taking Laporta.
Yeah.
It just, again, questionable decisions by some of these front
Mhm.
offices of letting that happen.
my next one was the Commanders. I did not like the Emmanuel Forbes pick.
No one did,
Um,
besides Commanders fans.
Yeah, besides Commanders fans, the copium is real high on that one. But they didn't take a quarterback. They're gonna roll in this year with who's even their starter now. I don't even know. That's how bad that is. Oh, you know who they're going with?
He was a rookie last year.
Sam Howell.
Yeah, same
That's who they're going with. Which I get that, but that team has so many needs. And that team's kind of like the Colts, where they've just suffered from bad quarterback play. Shout out to my boy Kirk Cousins, because, he might be the best Redskins quarterback in the last 20 years.
Hey.
But,
Shh, you don't say that word.
oh,
Stay
yeah.
woke. They also have Jacoby Brissett and Jake
Commanders,
Fromm,
my bad.
but I like Jacoby. I'm a big Brissett guy.
Yeah.
So Jacoby Brissett could be their number one guy. I mean, he's clearly not a great starter.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
backup quarterback for sure. But yeah, they're struggling with quarterback
Mhm.
play there.
And just some of the picks, like they went another DB after that, and Javarius Martins. They got a center and stuff like that. I just feel like that team just needs some more, especially for a defense that was kind of already solid. They did need some corners, but they should have got Christian Gonzalez. Maybe got another safety or two, and I don't know.
If I'm Terry McLaurin right now, I'm screaming because it's like, who's throwing me the ball? Like
Sam Howell's throwing me the ball.
Jacoby
Howell's throwing me the
Brissett.
ball.
I'd take Jacoby Brissett, trusting him throwing the ball
Oh, yeah.
more. But yeah, we'll see what the Commanders are doing. Maybe they're like, ooh, we're gonna gear up. Maybe not tank per se, but like we're not gonna win the division. Let's wait because USC next year, Caleb Williams
That's true.
could potentially try to get into play for that. Because the other guys all drafted teams that truly needed quarterbacks went and got a quarterback.
That's
so maybe they're playing mind games for next
It's such
year.
a hard division too, which you're trying to compete with the Eagles, the Cowboys, the Giants should be better.
Or slowly, yeah, they they rely heavily now on what Barkley's going to do with that franchise tag. Cause
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
So my third team that I disliked with some of their drafting was the Denver Broncos. So first off, they drafted Mims from out of Oklahoma, wide receiver.
Mhm.
You have Jerry Jeudy, Cortland Sutton, and Tim Patrick.
It makes me think they're gonna get rid of one.
That I can see that. I know there's talks about potentially Cortland Sutton just because he's older
Yeah,
and he kind of fills that Cortland Sutton role.
yeah,
But it just, out of all the needs that you need an offensive line and you needed pass rush. Those
Yeah.
were your two biggest hits. And in the second round where they drafted Mims, they could have taken Steen, the offensive tackle out of Alabama that the Eagles took.
hmm
You had a day one starter offensive tackle. Russ had a very bad year.
yeah. Surprisingly bad.
You're hoping that it's going to turn around, and where does that start? Your offensive line. And you can add all the wide receivers you want. Hard to throw the ball when you're either got dudes in your face, you're getting sacked or you got to scramble all the time and hoping for the best. Um, so that just didn't make sense to me. I did like the Sanders pickup, the inside linebacker at the third round. That was about the only thing that I liked about their draft. They did add Moss out of Iowa at DB, which could be the first white cornerback to start an NFL game in a very long time.
Yeah, that's been a very long time.
There's talks that he may move over to safety. So, because he doesn't have the true speed, I think, to guard people like Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So the Broncos, they needed to add pass rush. They needed to, and they have Surtain already. Be that number one guy
who played very well last year.
Very well. So Moss could be that guy if he does stay at cornerback to be opposite of him, but they didn't go after what they needed. None of their draft picks were edge rushers, defensive tackles, or I think they got an offensive line maybe later in the draft, so a guy that maybe never even sees a field, plays practice squad, but just very concerning that you don't go after a single issue that you truly needed to address.
Yeah. No, I agree. My next one was the Niners. They were kind of weird. It was kind of easy to pick the Niners too because they didn't have a first or second round pick. But they started out with, I don't even know how to say his name, Brown. I just feel like they didn't or as a safety, I feel like they didn't fill all the needs they have. Which, granted, the 49ers don't have that many needs. If there's this close to perfect team in the NFL, it's probably the 49ers. I think they are going to go with Brock Purdy, which kind of, if he plays, which kind of scares me a little bit. Well, I like Brock Purdy. But
they have Sam Darnold, too. They signed him. So, quarterback position, you don't really need to add a quarterback. Well, because, again, the 49ers are a team that you
plug and play.
Exactly.
They did make Jimmy Garoppolo look really good. His numbers lie.
Yeah, but you plug and play. Like a team that doesn't. There's the bigger thing too is like with the Eagles, they didn't really need anything.
No,
but they went and got it. Like they went and got whatever they possibly could at those positions, which the 49ers kind of just
didn't have a lot of draft capital.
Yeah.
And they did, they got Christian McCaffrey, which I thought was a good pickup in the offseason that did take away a lot of their draft capital.
Shout out to kickers going in the third round, though.
Yeah, that was a bad
best kicker. You need a kicker. That's about the only thing that they truly needed. Yeah. What do they need?
In the third round.
Might as well. Why not?
Who was the last kicker that went that high? What was that?
I don't know, but Moody...
Was it Rodrigo Aguayo or whatever the one? The one that went to the Bucs?
Yeah, where they traded up.
Yeah, they traded up to get him and he just sucked. He never missed a kick. Hey, I think it was at Florida State.
You need to watch college football. Go watch some Jake Moody highlights from Michigan. You'll be like, dang, that was a solid third round pick for the 49ers.
Oh, I'm sure, but they did some things. It'll be interesting. Hopefully I'm not talking too bad about the 49ers because I want them to trade the Vikings Trey Lance. So I do want Trey Lance as a backup to Kirk Cousins and eventually take over.
I just don't see, unless the Vikings can trade Kirk Cousins elsewhere, that trade doesn't happen because the 49ers don't need Kirk. So
no, I don't want them to. I don't want Trey Lance for Kirk. I want Trey Lance to be the backup to Kirk.
Ooh.
See, you like that a little more, don't you?
That makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, I don't want him to trade to Kirk. Well, Kirk would have been the best quarterback on the 49ers by far. That's exactly what Kyle Shanahan wants, though.
Yeah,
a game manager. He doesn't want a Rodgers or someone that will go and take over that huddle. He wants someone that will do exactly what he says, hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey.
You know who does a really good job at handing the ball off? Carson Wentz. Did that with Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, no.
Hey, he's going to get signed. Just watch. It's okay.
We'll see.
All right. Teams that you think did outstanding in the draft?
I like the Texans draft. I feel like they went and got their guy. I really didn't think they were going to take C.J. Stroud. I thought they would get scared and they'd, either trade back or draft Will Levis or something like that. And I feel like they stood strong with that. Then on top of that, they went and traded the Cardinals for the third overall pick and got possibly the best pass rusher in the draft with
Anderson.
Yeah, Will Anderson Jr., who really was a stud, dude.
I really like the Texans draft too. My only biggest concern is they gave up
They did.
a future first round pick. So for him to get that third spot, I think at that point you kind of have to to make that pick worth it. Anderson better produce right away because I love the pick. I like Will Anderson, but to give up the amount of draft capital that they did in a team that's rebuilt, it's not even like next year they plan on making the playoffs. They're still in the rebuild process. To give up all those draft picks to get somebody, they are dead certain that he's going to be the man on that defense, and you better produce for him.
Well, they haven't had a pass rusher that good since J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
So I do think that it's a good. I think it was a good trade. They did give a lot to Arizona, but you know what? I think it was worth it.
And Arizona was just like, hey, I'm gonna trade everywhere. I think they traded 3 times in the first round. It was crazy. Yeah.
The only concerning thing is maybe they could have done better with wide receivers because Nico Collins is their number 1 right now.
You don't badmouth Xavier Hutchinson. All right, 6th round pick. 3 to 4 round talent.
Yeah.
He's a possession guy. He may not break off with the speed and the great athletic ability, but that man is a possession receiver and he keeps on that roster.
I think they have Robert Woods too, so there you go. The corpse of Robert Woods. At least you got a target.
Yeah. So my favorite clearly Eagles. Eagles.
Yeah.
They had the best draft. There's no ifs, ands, or buts around it. I don't understand how teams are like, hey, we're gonna let these guys just keep slipping, and the Eagles won't. Are they thinking that the Eagles aren't gonna take them, or what is going on there? Because I don't think you can get any better of a draft than what fell to them at the times. I just don't see what you can take better. I do like the Tanner McKee quarterback draft in round 6. The dude is complete opposite of Jalen Hurts, so filling him in. I mean, we do have Marcus Mariota. He could be QB3, but it's just so funny to me that Mariota, Hurts, all can play the same offensive style. Then you bring in good old Tanner McKee, who is not going to be able to do that offense very well because he's not mobile.
Gardner Minshew.
Yeah, but Gardner Minshew was a little... Yeah, he was more mobile. Tanner McKee is not. Yeah. So, why we drafted him, I don't know. Just to get that third quarterback. But it'll be interesting to see, preseason, watching him play in that offense, just to see how well that goes, just because he's not an RPO guy.
He's gonna find out how to be one.
Yeah, the dude's gonna come in and into the season. He's gonna be able to run a 4.6 40 already. And
might be faster than Jalen Hurts. Who knows?
Oh gosh.
But yeah, I agree. That's who I had with my second. The Eagles just killed it. I mean, the fact that they got Jalen Carter, stupid. Why the NFL let that happen just so the Eagles can go to a Super Bowl and lose it again to the Chiefs? I have no idea why.
Don't say to the Chiefs. This year they're going to lose to, the Bengals or something. You watch your mouth, all right?
That's true. Joe Burrow is going to take them there. But, yeah, they did really well in the draft, especially where they were at and the picks they had. They did have a couple extra picks, but they did very, very well.
Well, and they traded up one spot just to get Carter. The Bears, who knows what the Bears would have actually taken. They ended up taking an offensive tackle. So, I mean, did they really need to trade up? Maybe not. But the Bears could have been like, ooh, we're going to take Carter. And
if the Bears took Carter, because that's who they probably would have taken at 1, that would probably be the best, the smartest thing a team has ever done in the draft.
Yeah, I'll take it. And the only thing, the best part about that trade is we only gave up an additional 4th round pick.
Yeah, so it was
swapped picks and a 4th. Yeah. I will take that any day of the year for Jalen Carter.
It was good.
My second team that I think had a very good draft was the Steelers. Big one is need offensive line, protect your quarterback. Protect. Broderick Jones, round 1. Solid pick. I think based off of, who was all in front of them. You had, I mean, he was the third best. You had Johnson Jr., Skoronski for sure, and then right, the Bears took him or Jones could have been switched out, I think, for 3 or 4, and that's just solid. Again, day one starter, come in, protect your quarterback, give him time,
and they needed that.
And yeah, they definitely needed that. Pickett was just under pressure all the time last year. And
Najee had no holes.
And yeah, what was his yards per carry? Some of those
it had to be under 4. It most definitely had to be under 4.
You'd watch some of those games, you'd get like half a yard.
And I'm a big Najee guy too, and you know that. And it was terrible to watch those games.
The Joey Porter Jr. cornerback round 2 steal. I thought that he could have gone. I thought he should have gone first round.
Yeah.
And at the end of the first round, when he didn't get picked, I was like, he's gonna be the first pick.
And it's cool too that he got drafted to the team that his father played for and coached for a while.
Kept the legacy going. Yeah. I mean, that's a very good story. It's like the Cowboys with Deuce Vaughn. Love
that
Deuce Vaughn.
Cool too. Yeah.
Your dad calls you, do you want to come to work with me on Monday? And he's like, yeah. Like that just... Jerry Jones was crying when he called Deuce, when they were talking to Deuce. But yeah, just keeping that legacy, the relationships that you have there. I love Darnell Washington in the third. 6'7", big old tight end target.
Yeah.
For Pickett. And then he's going to play opposite of Freiermuth. I mean, and Freiermuth had some solid production during the season. So, does he decrease the production value of Freiermuth a little bit? Yes. But, big old target. He played very well with Georgia. He can, even at his height, he could line up outside. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have a mismatch at linebacker, and you're going to have a mismatch at cornerback with him.
Yeah.
You just got to utilize it, I guess.
Especially a team that likes to use 2 tight ends too, so it'll be good. Big play Pat. So yeah, it'll be good for them.
And then with them, they drafted more defense, which again their defense is very good. So just adding to that of Nick Herbig, and then Corey Trice later rounds. So guys that can definitely go in and fill positions, get some snaps in and produce for them.
Yep. I agree. That's who I had too, so there's not much more to say. I love the Joey Porter pick. I really do think that stood out for me. And they went and got help for their quarterback and Najee Harris and everything, and that's what they needed, honestly. The Steelers I watched a lot of Steelers games, and that offensive line was terrible.
Yeah.
It was really, really bad. And Pickett didn't have a lot of time. He had to go out there with his small hands and try to make something happen, so...
Well, and then again, you had Najee, who just wasn't producing like you thought he could.
In who the year before was just a standout. I mean, I'm a big fantasy guy. I love Najee Harris. I did trade him, won a championship, so it worked out, but it hurt because I really, really, really like Najee Harris. So I think that team is going to be a lot better and be way more competitive this year.
Yeah. So my third was the Bengals. I think they slipped under people's radar just because of all the big other moves. I liked Miles. I love Miles Murphy. At the end of the round, comes in. He's going to be paired with Hubbard and Hendrickson, coming off that edge. Just adding, again, Eagles, big rotation guy. You have the depth. You want to make sure that your guys aren't tired. Hendrickson, Hubbard, going to get tired. You can bring in Miles Murphy to substitute one of those guys out, and you're going to have a constant pass rush still. So that's good there. You're losing some players. You're trying to keep that defense to compete in the AFC. Like their first 3 picks were all defensive players. You got to have a defense that's going to be able to stop Mahomes, Allen, Rodgers. Now that AFC is so stacked. You got to have defense. DJ Turner at cornerback, I think he was drafted right where he should have been. There was, after Gonzalez, Witherspoon, and Joey Porter, clearly there's a difference between Joey Porter and them, but then after Joey Porter, there was kind of definitely a fall for those guys. Jordan Battle at safety, Jesse Bates situation. You're gonna go fill that role, and keep them there. Not an Iowa fan, but I loved Charlie Jones at Iowa, and then he just produced at Purdue. He was that guy that you were like, how is he putting up those yards? How is he getting open? How is he getting those receptions? That's Charlie Jones. And you already have a great wide receiver roster, which I think they're also starting to figure out that, in the next year, they're going to lose, potentially lose T. Higgins. Or, then you have Chase, Boyd.
Yeah.
And Charlie Jones is a great slot position for them. And then they went and got Chase Brown at wide receiver from Illinois. Stud. Just an absolute stud. If you guys have never watched him run the ball at Illinois, insane. He was top 3. I think he led in some categories at running back position for the 5th round, and with Joe Mixon stuff up in the air.
Yeah.
Solid guy to come in and just replace him.
I wonder what they're going to do with Joe Mixon, too.
They want him to take a pay cut, but he's not doing it.
No, which I can't blame him, but Joe Mixon has a lot of controversy over him lately. So I wonder what will happen with that. And because they did take the guy that you're talking about, but they didn't do a lot with that running back room, which I thought they might.
Well, again, you have Zeke, Fournette, Kenyon Drake,
possibly Dalvin Cook,
Kareem Hunt. Yeah, you could. Those guys are all guys that should be on an NFL roster. They will be. It's just when will they be?
Yeah,
that's
true.
I think a big thing is maybe guys like Zeke think, I still want more money than what you're probably willing to pay me. Might have to make some sacrifices financially there, but all these teams that have running back issues, you could go get a guy that is going to still produce for you in any of those guys.
Oh yeah, that's true. Zeke maybe not so much, but I like Zeke. But...
Yeah, but okay, you're not getting the leading NFL rusher Zeke now. You're getting a 3rd and short, second, shorter down back. You get him in the red zone,
I'll say this once, and I'll say this: I'd rather have Leonard Fournette right now, by far, over Zeke. Yes.
You know how I feel about Leonard Fournette.
I know you like him,
and I love Leonard Fournette.
But
and I would definitely take Leonard Fournette.
Yeah. I just feel like Zeke's got to go to a team that just needs that, like you said, the 3rd and short, that goal line guy to go and do, because I feel like that's what he is. Unless he really takes care of his body or something. In Dallas, Tony Pollard outplayed him at the end.
Well, the big one too is when Zeke, his first couple of years, he was run down. That was the he didn't have guys to come in to really fulfill his role. He got beat down.
And at Ohio State too, he
was beat down. So definitely another reason why he didn't take care of his body. He gained a shit ton of weight.
Yeah, he did.
He caused that himself. Especially during that contract situation where he wasn't really doing a whole lot. But yeah, I would definitely take Leonard Fournette any day. I think that dude got better after he left the Jags. He actually can catch the ball in the backfield now, and he'll give you yards on the ground. So I was really hoping the Eagles, and then we went go get him, and then we got Rashad Penny instead. So
I like Rashad Penny though.
I do too, but I like Fournette more.
Yeah, but Rashad Penny, for the price tag of Rashad Penny,
the best thing about the price tag is Miles Sanders is making $6.8 million this year. The Eagles running back room with 5 running backs
makes less than that.
Is making less than that.
Yeah. The Miles Sanders, I really want to see what Miles Sanders will be for Carolina.
Well, when he got drafted, a lot of people were like, he is clearly not a good version of CMC, but he could be that type of player. He's your dual threat.
Oh, I was thinking more Saquon is what they said since he came.
That too.
Same program.
But he's not as big. But he's an elusive back that I was fully expecting him to be putting up CMC numbers from day one. But then coaching changes. There was games where he was getting one rush in the first half.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense, the inconsistency of play calling for him. when he was able to put up those numbers. He just had his best season.
I wonder if it'll help DeAndre Swift with the Eagles or if it'd be worse. Because he got a lot of carries in Detroit when he was healthy. He kind of was inconsistent, stuff like that. I wonder, fantasy-wise, if he will be a better player this year.
I think he will. I think he's going to put up a lot better numbers because in one, you had Jamal Williams taking all your touchdowns, which Jalen Hurts really doesn't do that. Most of his touchdown runs were like out, like they were not like just like a yard run, It was, had to run a little bit.
They tried to change the rule about QB sneak.
But that wasn't just for touchdowns. That was just in general.
I know, but I watched a lot of Jalen Hurts. I've been a Jalen Hurts
Jared Goff,
fan.
not an RPO guy.
No,
So
he's
now
not.
you have a quarterback that you have to honor his run, you have to honor his arm, and you don't know if he's going to hand the ball off to Swift or not. And I think Swift can catch the ball out of the backfield. It'll be good for him.
But the Eagles love their committee though, so that's the only thing because it's not like a 1-2 committee where.
And it's a deep committee.
Oh yeah, well Boston Scott's gonna have like 8
Boston
touchdowns
Scott,
for no reason.
Rashad Penny, Trey Sermon,
Yeah.
Swift clearly, and then
You guys got Trey Sermon.
we have Trey Sermon.
Why?
Why not?
Just because he didn't pan out for the 49ers, so fuck it, we'll just take him or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it's gonna do.
Yeah, I guess so.
But all right, guys, that pretty much wraps that up for the draft over cap. I know it was a long first episode, and we could have clearly gone deeper into things, but I think that was great.
I agree.
With that, y'all stay tuned for next week's podcast. We'll be releasing that.
Subscribe.
Cheers.